we are live on YouTube. About to be live on Insta.
Getting ready for the show. Prep work done. Got the brewski. Got the notes.
Oh yeah, we're golden. We're live.
What's going on, everyone? Ben Ryan Chase here, episode 73. After further review, it's not the after hours yet. Present time. We don't have a big show today, but it's mid-season of baseball.
Those are always the longest.
Yeah, probably this might be one of the worst weeks actually in sports. It's hot outside. You try to go do stuff outside during the day, burn out, come home, and
It's a hot take.
you don't really have much to do when you get home.
Yeah.
But yeah, mid-season classic is as we are recording, but we figured, since this is like the main time for baseball, right? We have the playoff push that comes after this, and there's not a lot going on in other sports. So we're dedicating this entire episode to MLB, past, present, future. We got some picks coming up, so stay tuned to get some picks. I know we haven't given any AFR picks in a while. These are some hot ones too. You're going to like them. And the only non-MLB thing we'll wrap up with Chase's weekly NASCAR recap, which was the Pocono race. So yeah, Ben Ryan Chase, we're about to get right into it. How you guys doing?
I'm good. It's a fun one. I'm always excited when we talk baseball. We've been talking about kind of the first topic for a little while, so to kind of talk about it on the podcast will be fun. Yeah, it's been a rough couple days just with the heat. So hopefully it breaks tonight, and we will keep grinding out some of these picks, and hopefully these picks hit. We haven't made a pick like you said in a while, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah. At this point, all of our listeners out there, they don't remember how bad my picks have been. So just treat this as, a fresh, tasty treat that's gonna lock in a couple bucks for you.
Yeah. How are you doing, Chase?
I'm doing good, surviving the heat. And yeah, this is definitely one of the worst times of year, especially with the heat. But because I think tomorrow, right, there's no major games going on. Maybe there's
no.
Baseball doesn't start till Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wednesday and Thursday will be like
got some WNBA action.
Yeah, but basically it's March of 2020.
Yeah, or summer league. But I mean, for the real things that really get you going, you don't have it. And especially last night around 6 o'clock, I was like, oh, I could put on Phillies pregame, just have something to listen to while I'm wrapping up work, and nothing. Stonewalled, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. It's that week.
Yeah,
so,
that's crazy. I forgot how bad this week was. Even last year, like, what did we do in the show last year? I guess we were doing our starting nines.
I think so. But
it'd be interesting to see what we talked about at this time last year. But
yeah, we're gonna get into.
No, real quick. Sorry, on baseball related. Chase, I have a story for you. Sunday, Lindsay and I were at Hershey Park. And we're a big look-alike group here. After further review, we love seeing people we think are famous, right? So it's towards the end of the night. We're walking past Fahrenheit. For anyone who doesn't know Hershey Park, that's one of the big coasters, straight up, straight down, 97-degree angle. If you like coasters, that's a great one to ride at Hershey Park. And as we're walking past it, there's this group that looks like a camp going in line, and in front of the group is this like kind of beefy dude. And Lindsay's like, oh, Micah Parsons look-alike. I'm like, hold up. That might be Micah Parsons, right? So do a little search, hop on the Instagram. They're all wearing navy blue 11s. And he was at a middle school earlier in the day wearing the same exact shirt. So we're like, oh, it's a lock. Micah Parsons is at Hershey Park right now with us, about to ride the Fahrenheit. So you already know I called he's going front row. He goes front row. We're standing kind of at the bottom where the people exit. And there's only like maybe 5 to 10 other people who realize it's him. So it's not a big crowd, but he was with the big group. So the ride comes through, gets off. We look at his picture because, I feel like he's a pretty straightforward dude. He doesn't always show a lot of emotions, but he looked like he was having a lot of fun on the coaster. So shout out to him to come home to Pennsylvania and spend some time with his family. But he comes down off the ride. I was like, oh, I don't think it's like a Jason Kelsey situation where I know he doesn't mind people come up to him, and there was no one else around. So I didn't really want to make a scene.
Yeah.
As his group's coming past, there's a couple people who are saying a couple things. So, I had to get in there. Yo, Micah, good luck next season, man. Rooting for you. He hits the thanks, guys. And I was like, boom, landed.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Cool, man.
Dude, that's crazy.
I know. I was like, I just couldn't believe it. But after the Jason Kelsey thing, I'm like, anything's possible. He's from this area. He grew up in Harrisburg. Hershey Park's like a staple to Central PA if you're going to do something. I couldn't really there was a couple other guys there that looked like his friends. They looked like they were athletes. I don't know if they were NFL athletes or not, but no, it was just wild. Lindsay, the diehard Cowboys fan she is, she pulled the you and me during Jason Kelsey where she just kind of giggled as he was walking past and didn't do anything. I knew Kendra wasn't there to step up, Chase, so I had to say something. I had to get it in.
Yeah.
I'm sure I could have asked for a pick maybe or something, but it was probably after 6 p.m. at that point. So and he was at the park with his family trying to ride some rides. So
sure.
I didn't want to.
But yeah, I mean, at least he acknowledged the things he said. Yeah, it was like cool, and I'm sure it's like he knows it's gonna happen. But also, I feel like with football players, it's a little weird because they always have a helmet on, so most people just know them from the number and not really anything else. So even though he's, I would say, pretty recognizable, but it's like hard to know for sure. Like you were saying, it's like I don't know because he does wear a helmet all the time, so like it could be, could not be, but that's so crazy that like he was there same time, like busy time of the day, like it wasn't like special hours or anything. He was just in there with a group of people hanging out, being amongst the people.
Busy park too, so they're like
I know. He probably has the ability to come there after hours or even get it a couple hours
rent it out.
Yeah, like I'm sure, but maybe he just wanted to be a part of the people. But yeah, your point about the helmet, we say that all the time. NBA players are always tall, and they. You can get a great view of them watching the games. Football players, it's a little harder, but it wasn't like it was, your second, third string cornerback where you might not recognize them off the field. I mean, it's Micah Parsons and he's from the area too. And he played at Penn State, but no, for sure. Wild. Right after he gets off the ride, straight beelines it to a Nathan's hot dog stand, and he's just ordering up a storm. So I was like, yeah, man, you deserve it. Get all the hot dogs.
Dang. What a beast.
I know. It was cool, too. I mean, he looked just like he always is. Like, straight face, wasn't talking. I couldn't tell. I know he has a kid. I don't know if the kid was there with him or not. One guy looked like his dad, but overall just a cool experience. And just between now, the Jason Kelsey thing, and Micah Parsons, like, I got to get my eyes peeled.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I mean, and I know Jason Kelsey's a star, but Micah Parsons is like top 5 sometimes in the league.
Right,
like
he's right now, top 5, like most known player, I would say.
Probably, top 5, just best player on deep.
Yeah.
Like he's explosive, definitely. Like that's crazy. He was just mucking it up at Hershey Park. Like it's no big deal. Like he's just at Penn State. Like he's just hanging. Like that's so cool. I don't know. Like I feel like some other guys wouldn't want that much access, but he's just like, I feel like that just tells you how cool like he is about the whole thing. And it's not really like, I don't know. He just wants to be like everyone else. So
straight genuine vibes I got from him, which is good. I always just think of the Dank meeting Andre Miller as a kid and him trying to get an autograph and Andre Miller shutting him down, and now it's like Dank's least favorite player ever. So you always have a little bit of fear. And that's why I don't want to ever push it either. I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm like, dang, Micah Parsons was like kind of a dick to me. You know what I mean? So
I'm sure if you were wearing his jersey just by happenstance, he probably would have been like, a nice jersey or something like that. Like I'm sure then it wouldn't have been so like weird, but
if you had your shirt, sure, you could have gotten it.
I know.
Signed.
I do have a Micah Parsons shirt. I was trying to think. I was like, what could we get signed? I was like, yo, I could go buy his picture of riding the roller coaster. That might have been too far though.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like if you were just like quick about it and you weren't making a scene, like he would have been fine with it. If you were just like, hey man, appreciate you. Good luck next year. Would you sign this real quick? Like,
yeah, true.
Like true. I feel like if you're not making a scene, then they're like cooler about it. Like I don't know.
Yeah. But no, it was.
But still, that's crazy though. You just saw Micah Parsons at Hershey Park
Yeah, it's crazy. Like Lindsay was just like, "Oh, Michael Parsons look alike." If I didn't say anything else, that would have been it.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't Fahrenheit, I don't want to throw Lindsay under the bus, but she's deeply afraid of roller coasters. I would have just sent it in there because we would have been in line right behind him. Then it's like the easy, like we can talk to him.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
If you're just in line, it could be like, I mean, they got nowhere to go. So yeah.
Yeah. So,
Dang,
but it
dude,
was like one of the worst.
nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. So.
Oh yeah, that's awesome.
That's crazy. Well, I'm glad it was like cool and he had like acknowledged you guys, and that's hype though.
Yeah, I forgot. I had to tell you that. I called Ben off air. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to say this story real quick." So I didn't mean to interrupt the MLB only show with the Micah Parsons sighting, but
no, it's hype.
For sure, an even bigger fan now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive in.
Well, I definitely hope the Cowboys re-sign him now because that would be super cheeks.
Is it a contract here? Is it a contract here?
I think it's coming up. I think he's starting to get to the point where they're gonna like franchise. I don't know. Is he? Do you know, Ryan? For sure.
I don't remember. We actually don't remember what year he got drafted.
2020 or 2021.
It was 21 or 22.
No, I don't think it was 22. I think it was 21.
Dang.
He sat out the COVID year, I think, at Penn State, and then he got like the Jamar Chase.
Yeah, because Devontae
wasn't.
Wasn't it? That's when the Eagles went right at like.
Devontae Smith, yes.
Yeah, Devontae Smith. They picked him before, I think, and now people are talking about how they could add Micah, or they still can if he walks in the Cowboys.
You could add Micah Parsons and Justin Jefferson, essentially.
Yeah,
that was when you had.
But we took Devontae Smith and Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, the Reagor.
Yeah, I mean Devontae Smith isn't bad.
No,
but he's definitely a number 2.
The Reagor was the one.
Yeah, the Reagor was.
Yeah, Reagor was a bad one. That was a total whiff. I mean, also on the other teams who didn't draft Jefferson too, like bum on you. The Eagles just worse.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into it. Get into our show. We got the start of it is examining the A's, the 1971 and 1975 A's, who could be the greatest team ever. And we're gonna kind of dive in a little bit.
You gotta be more bold about it.
They are. I don't know if they're actually the greatest team ever. They might be.
1971 and 1975 A's, the greatest. What would you call that? Is that a dynasty?
Yeah, I think any three-peat's a dynasty, and they did that.
So 3-peat automatic dynasty.
I would say so.
So they could be the greatest dynasty in baseball history.
They're not the only 3-peat, though.
I mean, you put up their greatest team ever, Ben. I'm just trying to make you bold here.
Did you see this thing about the Immaculate Grid?
What was that?
Do you see this thing about the Immaculate Grid?
What does it say?
Play this week's bonus grid for a chance to win a limited edition Immaculate Grid hat.
Oh, I really kind of want that hat. All right, we'll have to do the Immaculate Grid after. I really want the hat. That'd be hype to have that. I would definitely display it down here.
Heck yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into this. 1970. Oh, I started 72. We'll start 71. This is not the first year they won their they won the World Series, but this is kind of the start of their dynasty. So for those that don't know, I just want to preface this quick that they moved to Oakland in 1968. They went from Kansas City from 1955 to 1967, and then previously Philly.
Okay, so Philly, Kansas City,
then Oakland,
and then Oakland,
and then Sacramento, and then who the hell knows, Vegas maybe.
Yeah, most likely.
But anyway, they had a drought from 1932 until this 1971 year where they did not make the playoffs.
So they went 4 decades, no playoffs, and then just straight possibly one of the greatest runs in the history of this sport.
When your laptop is powered by an Intel Core Ultra processor, you've got what it takes to unlock new AI experience.
Gotta absolutely love Baseball Reference.
You just gotta let it go. Yo, this is how uncut this show is.
We gotta get a sponsorship from Baseball Reference so we can get rid of that.
How is real this show though? Like, you know,
we literally go on Baseball Reference every single week.
Yeah, come on. But they had 32 and 33. They had back-to-back years of MVP Jimmy Fox. Did not make the playoffs.
Bro.
Jimmy Fox on there. I guess Jimmy Fox was. Yeah, he was the Philadelphia Athletics. So yeah, I was thinking him in the Phillies, but that was the Athletics end. So that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, just absolutely, insane run. And we'll get into it now. So some of their players too.
So it starts in 71.
Starts in 71 when they had 4 straight. I mean, they won 100 games, 101. They lost to the Orioles, who I think were a pretty big powerhouse at that time.
Yes. Yeah, Orioles were also very good in the 70s.
And so, surprisingly, when I looked at this, didn't Vita Blue, but Joe Ruddy is down here somewhere, and he was a big piece for them. And if you guys have anything to talk about this dynasty, please chime in. So looking at this roster and these 4 years, they had 3 Hall of Famers. They had Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, and I think Vita Blue was the other one. He's a Hall of Famer, right? Not a Hall of Famer. Who's the third?
Raleigh Fingers.
Raleigh Fingers. Thank you, Ryan. I'm surprised Vita Blue's not a Hall of Famer, actually. He just didn't have a long enough career.
I mean, 17 years is pretty beefy. I feel like
209, 3.27 ERA. He won Cy Young and MVP in 71.
Okay, so he was a big part to start the dynasty.
So he was a Cy Young and the MVP winner. This is
Holy
look
shit.
at this.
He went 312 innings. Oh my god.
Jeez, 301 straight. Look at that. I mean, dang.
8 shutouts, 24 complete games.
Jeez,
I mean, the fact that he only gave up 63 runs in 300 innings is ridiculous in itself.
Yeah.
And 19 home runs? Yeah, that's not bad at all. I feel
8
like
complete game shutouts is pretty wild.
300 Ks, no big deal.
Yeah.
Like,
no big deal.
Ridiculous. So.
Yeah, he never put up a season like that again, actually, which is interesting.
I mean, he'd probably burn himself out, Ben.
That's true.
look at that. The next year, he only pitched 151.
Dang.
Yeah, it must have been.
And then back to 263.
Yeah, quick look at the postseason here. Not nearly as good in 71 postseason, though.
He had the Clayton Kershaw.
He did do the Clayton Kershaw. Although the World Series runs
better.
Still not a great postseason pitcher, though. But all right, let's so anything else you guys want to say about 71?
So what? Only 3 Hall of Famers on this squad right now?
Yeah, 3 Hall of Famers. And not through the whole thing, there's only 3 Hall of Famers.
Just Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter, and Raleigh Fingers.
Yep.
And they won how many straight? 4 straight?
3 straight.
3 straight.
3 straight. They lost the ALCS 71 and then 75.
So 72, 73. Oh my gosh.
73 is when they beat the Mets in the World Series. They won 4-3. The Mets were up 3-2, and they started. I'm actually reading a book about this. So
is this year?
Oh, sorry, 73.
Ben, you're jumping ahead. You're jumping ahead.
So 72 got the World Series.
When your laptop is powered by an Intel Core.
If that does it again.
Oh, it's definitely cooking.
Rage Ben is going to come back.
You got to hit the mute.
The mute is on, so it's unmuting itself. It's on AI shit. So Joe Ruddy, who I just talked about, the top player on this team, who you definitely would not have thought that. If you look at, they got Catfish Hunter, Reggie Jackson, Raleigh's down here. But you got Joe Ruddy, who was their top player. Interesting. But he had MVP votes. He had 305, 19 homers, 9 triples. Just kind of 151 OPS plus.
And this is their first World Series title this year.
Yeah.
I mean, just looking at their team, it doesn't look like a powerhouse to me. I mean, they have 3 Hall of Famers, but one of them is a closer. So
yeah,
it's not like they had them all on the field.
I mean, their best hitter actually is Mike Epstein here, 163 OPS. So not a guy I really even heard of, but I think their strength really was their pitching. And they got, I mean, you can see. Look at this rotation. I mean, look at that ERA. Look at that ERA in the rotation.
Catfish, Blue Moon, Odom. Oh, man. No wonder they won the World Series.
Have anyone in an ERA in the 3s? Yeah. They were all under 3.
I mean, their top 2 starters each had 16 complete games that year.
And look at this bullpen. Like, just, I mean, everyone was lights out.
Yeah.
Dang.
This guy down, Knowles. Sub 1.5 ERA.
Yeah.
11 saves himself.
And Raleigh was putting in innings. He for a closer. What? He was a 3-inning guy.
Yes.
Yeah. 100 inning relief guy. I love it.
Yeah, 11-9 as a closer. Like you just don't hear that anymore.
111 innings. That probably takes most guys like 4 years to get to.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But the pitching is really what propelled them. Just incredible years. He had Catfish Hunter. I think I'm just diverging. I think he won Cy Young that year. I'm in 72. Sorry, 72. Oh, he wasn't fourth. He was his MVP, Cy Young. Okay, he was fourth.
Dang.
Huh. I thought he was.
So a lot of these
Joe
players,
Rudy got second AL MVP voting that year.
So they had the fourth in Cy Young, but still, like, it's just not as dominant I was expecting, man.
No, just a really good rotation though. Vita Blue is a borderline Hall of Famer. Catfish Hunter's a Hall of Famer, and you got Raleigh Fingers as a Hall of Famer.
True.
Blue Moon Odom's also a really good. He was a really great player for his career.
Yeah, he kicked in 15 wins that year.
Yeah. He was a couple-time All-Star. Just kept getting injured, but he's in our name bracket, so
for sure.
All right, 73.
Dang.
So they win one World Series, they go 73. So that now they've been in deep in October 2 years straight. 73 they come in and then they win again, and this is their Mets one.
Yeah, so
they beat the Mets.
The Mets were up 3-2. This is when the Mets had their amazing rotation with a Tom Seaver's prime, like one of his best years. John Matlock was in there. They had Jerry Kuzman, just like a really good 1, 2, 3. And ideally they should have saved. And this is when Yogi Berra was their manager. But Yogi Berra was, even though he had the name, he wasn't a great manager at this point with the Mets. He just was. He just basically was, yeah. And he's the reason that like Seaver got basically booted out of New York, but that's a separate topic. So Seaver basically really wants to pitch game 6 and shut it out, even though it was on short rest. And instead of Yogi kind of like trying to say no, like we need you for game 7 just in case, they threw him out there, and it was like 3 days rest. Like it wasn't just short rest, like it was like 3 days rest. So they threw him out there. He gives up like 3 runs, which is the most he's given a ball postseason, which isn't bad.
No,
but he gave up 3 runs. They ended up losing the game, and then they didn't have him for game 7, and they lost that game.
Dang.
You could see, yeah, they lost 3-1. Catfish Hunter threw a gem, and then they had to put out John Matlock there. Jerry Kuzman was incredible. The Mets had Tug McGraw as their closer.
Yeah.
I
mean, you're hyping up the Mets so much here. You're Are the A's like? Are they not the greatest team ever been?
I mean, they are. They got first of all, Ray Fozzie's back there. He's also a really good player. He's the guy that got
very well in their name. I know him.
He's the one that got destroyed by Pete Rose, right? Ray Fozzie.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, let's look at their pitching again. A little worse this year, but you still had Catfish Hunter, Vita Blue. I mean,
Vita Blue had a better year than the year before.
Yeah,
so.
3 20-game winners. Ken, I don't even know where he came out of the blue there. But then your bullpen again is just really good. Raleigh Fingers, he throws 126 innings this year,
bro,
and just is crazy.
126 inning closer. That's the most ridiculous stat line ever.
I just don't. You're not going to see a consistency from a starting rotation back to back years, which is what won them championships in today's day and age. You just don't see it anymore.
Just because of contracts and money, or just
I mean, there's the injuries with pitchers too. Like it just the consistency. There's very few pitchers that nowadays put up that consistency. Like from one year to the next, it's very rare. Like you just don't see pitchers putting up even like a sub-4 ERA. Like how many pitchers over the last 10 years have thrown like even 4 straight years of a sub-4 ERA? Like and
they're better now than they ever been.
Yeah.
A good point. The dominance in the starting pitching.
So that's what really won them. I mean, like you said, they have Reggie Jackson this year. Reggie Jackson starts turning it on. I mean, that's a really good year. He's starting to become the guy. And that's part of what ended up winning them a third one too. So you go to number 3. They beat the Dodgers, who I think at the time were favored because the Dodgers, was that Don Larson? Maybe, I don't know, but I think that was so Catfish Hunter. This maybe was the year he won a Cy Young, but Reggie Jackson, another really good year. You got
just pure. You're right. The consistent. I guess the biggest thing here.
That Joe Rudy guy. I mean, he just another amazing, really good year for him. Like he's the
consistency across the board, though, is now what I'm seeing. Okay, I wasn't on your board yet, but now I mean,
let's look at this rotation again. I mean, look at this rotation again. You got Catfish Hunter just 25 and 12, throwing 318 innings. I mean, this strikeout ratio is not great, so definitely hit pitch into contact a little bit. But
yeah, last season I saw he gave up 39 home runs, and then he gave up 25 in this season. So
yeah.
If he would have cut out the home runs, his numbers would have been so good.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already good, but they would have been even better.
And you can make the argument that Raleigh Fingers, if they didn't have him, they would not have won as many championships as they did. I mean, he just was doing
3
his
years, 116 innings plus.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
just
crazy.
Go to Raleigh stuff for a second here. He got an MVP, first of all.
A Cy Young? It must have been the same year.
He's a World Series. He got World Series MVP, 7-time All-Star, 4-time reliever of the year. Let's see this.
Oh my God! Look how many times he did 100 innings.
Oh my gosh!
Holy smokes!
What?
That's insane. So the year he won was, oh my gosh, it was 81 with not even the A's with Milwaukee.
It's ridiculous.
He probably
34 and he won the MVP.
He probably shouldn't have won MVP.
No, because he only had.
Oh yeah, he won it over
this.
He won it over. Well, he only had 6 home runs though, Ricky. But
yeah, the list isn't. This list isn't popping out, but he only had 78 innings that year. He didn't have that crazy, but 28 saves back then was probably.
Yeah, I'm sorry, not to go down a rabbit hole. Why is the most hits in the league 135? Was there something going on that year? In 81?
I don't know. Was it like a short year?
That seems like a really weird.
Maybe it was a short year.
Huh. Okay. Not to get us sidetracked. But yeah, really good player. And yeah, this team, I think they're just unmatched with their starting rotation. And then 75, another good regular season. They just didn't have it together in the playoffs. They got a new manager right after 70. I'm sorry.
I think it was 70.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, 70. I don't know exactly what happened, but Dick Williams, who was a great player, and he's a Hall of Famer too, left here. And then they got this guy who still won a championship, but then it just kind of went downhill after that. They got another manager, and then still good year though. I mean, 75 had another probably great rotation.
I also think that was when the year after they won that last World Series. I think that's when they just started dismantling their whole team.
Yeah, so they didn't have Catfish Hunter anymore. And then I think after 75 is when Reggie Jackson went to the Yankees.
Yeah.
After that, there was that big sweepstakes, and he signed for like a 3-year, $3 million deal or something, which was like unheard of at the time. Or maybe 3 or 5 million. Yeah, so Reggie Jackson's gone. You don't have Catfish Hunter anymore.
So what they had a really
Oakland. They had a really cheap owner then too.
Yeah, he just didn't want to pay them anything.
Yeah, they're like the owner now. It's an A's thing.
So you think they just built a great team through the farm system, won 3 World Series, and it was time to pay everyone, and that was just it. They figured.
But yeah, they just figured that they figured that they did it on their own, so they could just do it again.
See how much money you had to have made winning 3 straight World Series. Yeah. Like, that has to be...
Also, that guy next to Reggie Jackson looks like Campaign.
A little bit, yes. Yeah. So...
Or like a Lou Williams Campaign mix.
Oh, well, Ben's out. He didn't really convince me that the A's are the greatest team ever. And... I don't know, Chase, thoughts?
I mean, that might be one of the craziest 3-year runs ever, though. I mean, to put it,
starting rotation is ridiculous.
Yeah, like just their pitching alone, and then I feel like they only needed 2 or 3 guys to pop off on offense every night,
True.
and then they could just get by because they weren't going to be giving up runs at all. So I mean, that's crazy that they had 4. They essentially had 6 people going over 100 innings easily, and then they just had to fill in the gaps. Oh, and one of those guys is your closer.
Yeah.
And so it's literally like they just have to get to 6 innings and then just give the ball to Raleigh Fingers, and then he'll just do the rest from there.
Yeah, and then the only non-Yankee team to ever three-peat.
Oh my goodness.
So
Okay.
the other there was 2 three-peats from the Yankees like 1930s and 1940s, which I mean I don't always count those because I don't know. First of all, there's still the Negro Leagues, and the Yankees had like everyone they possibly
plus
could.
there was like world wars happening. So
there was a lot of guys that weren't. Yeah. But so they did have the 1998 to 2000 dynasty, which I would consider that one. But then the A's at 72, 74, and there's been no three-peats since.
I mean, that might be the greatest home. Like, I guess we have to double check and make sure none of those guys were big free agent signings. But I'm just assuming by how cheap the owner was that he didn't sign any of those guys to add to the team. But that might be the greatest homegrown stretch in baseball where they did it.
Yeah, and I will say, just as a Mets fan, besides the 2015 World Series where they lost to the Royals, is really bums that the other 2 World Series that they lost were both to dynasties. The 1973 World Series to the A's and the 2000 World Series to the Yankees.
True.
Both 3.
That is tough. You finally get there and you just get demolished by it.
You're just running into. You're running into
like any other time, they probably win, but just that circumstance alone.
So anyway, but yeah, that's fun. I think it's fun to go kind of down in there and see all those random teams and random players, because like there's a guy like Joe Rudy I don't really know much of, but to see kind of what he did for that dynasty is kind of cool because he was a big part of it, and he's not a baseball name I always know. I mean, 2 years where he was a second in the MVP, literally 72 and 74 he was second in the MVP. So
that's crazy that they literally just went off.
I will say, like, in the NFL, they talk about, like, right now, they talk about how much parody. They, like, love the parody in the NFL, like, literally right now. Reading about this and just, like, you know, the more we dive into the history of the MLB, knowing that they're the only non-Yankee team to ever three-peat. Oh, it's only happened 4 times in this, like, 150-year sport. It just shows, like, it's so hard to win in baseball. And there's only 30 teams.
Do you think it'll ever happen again?
A three-peat?
A three-peat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because nowadays there's just
it's tough. It's tough. I mean,
it's just crazy. I don't know, if I'm the A's, like, that's wild. Just think if they tried a little harder to keep the team together, they could have like ran through the 70s.
That's why an owner makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
well, that's the
they
only
were definitely on track to do it.
Yeah.
I wish there was more of an equal payroll across the board for franchises. In MLB, there's such a big gap. We could break that down one day. I'm sure the A's are towards the bottom and the Yankees are at the top. But that's what's insane, that the A's did this without the cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they didn't buy a team and go to the World Series. Like they just grew it because they sucked.
Yeah. And unlike the opposite of Ben's point, Ben's sad about the Mets running into powerhouses. I don't think the early 70s were a time the Yankees, it was like one of the few times the Yankees were kind of crappy. So it worked out for them. Although the O's were the powerhouse and they beat them basically every year. So
yeah,
it's insane. The consistency in the starting pitching is what's
yeah. So. Damn, that must have really hurt for the Orioles fans once they first got kicked in by Reggie Jackson all those years. Then you finally get him, and then he just goes to the Yankees.
Yeah.
That is literally the worst thing ever, now that I'm really considering all the facts.
Yeah, and they just kept losing. I mean, the Orioles lost they beat the A's. Well, that's when they won the championship in 71.
71 was last time, yeah.
They didn't win the championship. They lost in the World Series.
Oh,
but they beat the A's. And then 73 and 74, they lost in the ALCS to the A's both years.
Damn.
Crazy. And they were only best of 5s back then.
Yeah. So, That is tough.
That sucks.
And especially how hard it was to make the playoffs back then too. Like it was
Oh yeah,
that
that was pre-wild card, I think.
Yeah. Like they can literally 75 O's finished second with a 90 and 69 record and did not make the playoffs. Like stuff like that.
That is so cheeks.
So
oh my
all right. Well, let's keep moving on. Move on to another MLB topic, and we are going to talk more present day, as we said in the title. We got the past, the present, and the future. So here we go. MLB's team. We got second half run. Who do you guys think is going to make a second half run and possibly make the playoffs?
Okay, so these are not your average. I'm not going to throw out the Dodgers.
And they have to be teams that are out of the playoffs.
Okay.
Currently.
Okay.
Which is why the Mets aren't in there for me, because currently they're in the
Well, no, I'm ready to run through. We got some picks coming up here. I'm excited. I may or may not have some backup coming down the pipeline.
Okay.
I'm okay with that too. So are we ready to get this rolling? You're gonna get the music going. Are we gonna start bumping?
Yeah, I think Ryan, you want to go first?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I can go for it. I'm just gonna be spitting some hard facts here. You already know you're ready.
All right.
And by hard facts, I mean just straight. There's nothing else about it. My pick: Houston Astros to make the playoffs. Currently fifth in the wild card standings, 3.5 games back. The Mariners are gonna win the division, which the Astros are not. It's not a regular thing for them to not be just powerhousing through the AL West every year like normal. But guess what? It doesn't matter. The dynasty's not over. They've been great at rebuilding this team throughout the years, losing Correa, Jose Abreu, who doesn't pick it up. Then they find guys like Tucker, Chas McCormick. Their starting rotation this year has been great outside of old Verlander, his injuries. I know they've been up and down through the season. It's not been as consistent as they have been, but the Houston Astros have been to 7 straight American League Championship Series. There's no reason with the extra wildcard spot now that they're not going to sneak in. You know the teams above them right now? The Kansas City Royals, I get it, Ben. I get it. They're legit. But they're not going to be ahead of the Houston Astros at the end of the season. And above them, the Yankees, okay, the Twins, and then the Boston Red Sox, which Chase, I don't want to toot your horn that's coming up here, but I still don't have enough faith in the Red Sox. I mean, but Devers like the only name I've consistently heard of over the last 5 years, and they still haven't really done much. And I mean, there's not much science behind it, right? They have some injuries. Verlander, I think Tucker are both supposed to come back in a couple weeks. No major injuries. Alvarez is having a good year. Altuve's been like the core of the semi-cheating, semi-not cheating group, but he's still rocking. Bregman's having a good year at third, and there's no reason why they won't make the playoffs. Easy 2-unit pick. Astros minus 160.
I like it. So thank you for that, Ryan. I'll go next here. And we'll do blast some music. So I'm going Astros too, and we did not talk about this ahead of time. That's kind of who I was thinking.
Chase. Sorry.
So yeah, I was thinking Astros. My reasoning, first of all, they're only one game. I don't know if you mentioned this, but they're one game back in their division from the Mariners, which is
I did not mention that.
So the Mariners, I don't know if they're going to send it all the way through. They've had a tendency to choke in the past, and the Astros are they're too good. They got Altuve as a future Hall of Famer on that team, and they got, as a team, they're playing really well. They just had some bad luck early in the season. They're first in the MLB in batting average. They're first in the MLB in hits per game. So their lineup has been great. You got when you got Alvarez, who's healthier again, he's still working on his hip, I think. But Tucker, Alvarez, Altuve, that's a great 1, 2, 3 in the lineup. And then you add some guys, even John Singleton's producing, which is an awesome story on top of that. A guy who's just traveled through everywhere, was out of baseball, former top prospect. But then the pitching, I mean, it's still, they got a really they got a top 5 offense with a top 10 pitching. And that's a recipe for success. Especially if they can maybe add a move at the deadline, even get a healthy Verlander. If they sneak into the playoffs and just kind of hold Verlander out until he's more healthy, I mean, that's a huge weapon for them. And I would not be surprised to see them back in the even ALCS or World Series.
Yeah, and Ben, I'm so glad I got Stack on my side. He's just rejuicing all the right reasons to take these Astros minus 160 pick. And, I know what some people are going to say. All dynasties have to come to an end, right? Lance McCullers hasn't pitched since my birth year, right? I get it, this, that, and the other thing.
McCullers, that's a name.
Yeah, he's been on the roster for a couple of years now and hasn't pitched, I think, since the 22 World Series. But guess what? They're not done yet. Yes, they might not get a three-peat in their time because of how ridiculously hard it is, but there's just not enough strengths throughout the American League right now. I think the bigger powerhouse is in the National League, and there's no reason why. I love it. I love it.
Yes, sir.
Lock it in.
All right.
Dang.
All right, Chase, we're building up here.
All right.
And you can take the Astros.
Yeah, I know. I probably would have known. I mean, okay, so they're a good team, and I can definitely see why you would pick them. I took a travel down further the road into probably one of the harder divisions, and I did pick the Red Sox to make it. It seems a little unrealistic considering that they're going to have two teams ahead of them the most of the time, but they're really not that far behind either of those teams. I mean, if you go back a month ago, they were like double-digit games out of even just being irrelevant. And since then, they've had guys put up decent numbers, probably numbers you wouldn't expect. Obviously, the guy we all know is Devers, and he anchors their lineup. He anchors my lineup in fantasy. And yes, he's been putting up somewhat good numbers this year. So the fact that he's been good, Jarren Duran's been good, and their pitching hasn't been god-awful like most of the people suspected. I'm pretty sure I even trashed the Red Sox before the season started and said they probably wouldn't even be that good. And here I am, halfway through the season, picking them to make the playoffs. But I don't have all those super sexy stats on them, but I would just say that they're playing solid baseball. I feel like they don't have any pressure to make the playoffs, and that's why they're in a good position. And plus, they're playing in a division that's normally 3 teams can make it from there, but it's really tough. I mean, they're going to have to keep adding these wins because other people can sneak up on them into the postseason run. But overall, I feel like they're playing all right. They really don't have a whole lot of high-end guys on their team right now. It's really just people you probably wouldn't recognize or all people who are cast-offs from different teams. But they've somehow managed to not be totally trounced in a division, which is easy to get bounced in. And they've been laying out some work. So I'm going to go with the Red Sox. We'll see if they can hang on here. But, hey, last year I picked the Diamondbacks to make the playoffs, and they're in a division that's also top-heavy.
Yeah.
So it's not impossible, but I mean the odds are definitely not great. But
you're relying on the wild card, but which is fine. I mean, there's the extra thought now. I will say Kenley Jansen is having like a savior career type year right now.
Future Hall of Famer.
I thought he was washed up for sure, and he's been solid at the back end, which has been super important too.
Him and Kimbrel.
Yeah.
But to your point, Chase, I just don't. Yeah, I don't know. There's you don't have as many divisional games anymore, but they're going to run into the Rays again, and you can't win 2 out of 3 against the Rays every time, and the O's and the Yankees are clearly above them. So I just don't have as much faith, but I do like it. And hey, you don't have to have the stats. I didn't have the stats. I respect your pick and your points. So
to back Chase up with some of the stats here for a second.
You're going to go against the Astros?
No, they can both make the playoffs.
Well,
I can agree with Chase's.
Yeah, it'll be a tight race, but we can both slip in.
As long as
I think the Astros are going to win the division, so it's not going to even affect the Red Sox.
Yeah, that's true. I do think the Astros get it.
They're only 1 game back. But looking at their roster, like they do not have a team. They would at the beginning of the year have a team that I would think is a rebuilding team.
Yeah. I guess that I think of them as a rebuilding.
So they didn't do a lot in the offseason. They signed Bello to like an extension, and he hasn't even done anything this year. But then they Cutter Crawford has just been really good for them, and then Bulk has been incredible. Like so, 2 guys they were looking at probably like back end of the rotation guys have been really good. I know Crawford. And then you got
plus, didn't they sign Giolito, who didn't even do anything for them?
Yeah, Giolito Story's been out forever.
Yeah.
I mean, Trevor Story's not played for them.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Forgot he's on the Red Sox.
So and then Pavetta's had a great kind of revival of his career over the last few years, but they just it's like a weird team, and then you just got like at the top Duran and Devers like going to work because they're both having great years.
Let me ask you guys this: are we sure that they're going to be buyers at the deadline? Like, I feel like even if they don't do anything, they're okay. But are they going to sell?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who's a seller anymore just because of the extra wild card spots. It doesn't seem like anyone's just willing to be a flat out seller. And if you are, like you're the White Sox, they're asking so much for what they have. It's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. And the Red Sox, they have some decent prospects, but I don't think they would try to part with any. This is one of those. This is almost like the Mets year, which weird. The Mets are literally in a playoff spot right now, but going into the season, it is supposed to be like a rebuild, like gear up to 2025. So they also, it's like you don't want to jeopardize the future to just it. You want to get in, but you don't want to jeopardize the future either.
Yeah,
it's great. I mean, parity in baseball since the 1800s. Anybody has a chance to make a run, and I mean now injuries can be more of a factor than anything. So I just can't hop on the Red Sox train yet, Chase. But
I mean they're down there, and it's a sketchy division. I know this is not an easy sell for anybody, but
I do know Cutter Crawford's heating up. He's been up and down, but I think he's back-to-back 7-inning no earned run starts just before the All-Star break, and he'll get a nice week off. So, I mean, they're at the position to start racking up some wins here, even more so than they already are. So,
yeah, I mean, just at this point to be third in the division with a above 500 record is a win for the Red Sox. I mean, I didn't think that the Phillies played the Red Sox a few weeks ago. And yeah, the Phillies hit a little bit of a speed bump, but that was also after the London trip and yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, the Red Sox looked okay during that series. And I was like, all right, they weren't total dog shit. Like, they were okay.
Yeah.
Well, and the Red Sox have 3 of the top 25 prospects, too, like Marcelo Mayer and what's the catcher? Kyle Teal, both who are doing really well in Double-A. So they're probably not ready till next year, but they have a bright future with some potential like star type players. I mean, Marcelo Mayer's like a Anthony Volpe clone, honestly. That's why I look at him.
Yeah. And I will
promoted Rafaela, and I didn't even think he was ready, but I mean, his numbers aren't awful, and he's been playing a lot of positions for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I gotta put the asterisks, Chase, next to them because I think they are right now in the new third wild card spot. But odds at minus 110, way better than the Astros, and they're also third in their division, and they are no clear shot of winning that. So I like the pick.
Yeah, I think it's because they have like 2 more wins than the Royals or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, it's weird.
How's that Tigers to win the division pick looking that I had earlier in the year? Oh, they're 12 back. That's a little tough.
All right, they need to get on a run here.
Maybe I'll double down. I bet the odds are.
I just hyped up how no one knows any of our recent picks, and you just literally.
It's because you had me put the pick in before the show. You had me put in the Google Doc, so I saw the other ones.
The Tigers.
Yeah, it was mine and then Christopher Bell.
Oh, true.
Those were the other ones.
Which is a lock right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on. We'll touch. I mean, this will be super quick. Just MLB draft. I'll just mention it happened. We won't go into a deep dive because I don't honestly. I haven't looked at the second, like after the second. Is it still round.
Going on?
It ended today, and I'm a big. So we have a subscription to Baseball America, and so I'm a big I love diving into the draft rounds 10 to it's fun.
It's crazy how they still have this many rounds.
But 2 players I wanted to highlight. One was Braden Montgomery, who won 12. I've been following him on Insta since like 3 years ago, since he got to college, because he was like a high school phenom. And to see him do really well at Stanford, and then he went to Texas A&M and became a stud, and then to see him drafted 12th overall, someone I've been I don't know, was hyped up for a while. That was pretty cool, and I think he could be a really good player. And then it was it wasn't a deep draft. I mean, you had number 1 overall, a second baseman get drafted, which I think is the first time ever number 1 overall pick was a second baseman.
It's ridiculous.
You had some weird things. You had a switch pitcher get drafted in the first round. So keep an eye out for that. I don't know how many.
We've seen them. They're not common. Also, wait, how many drafts are deep if they're 10 rounds?
What do you mean?
How many deep drafts are there in the history of the MLB? There's no way you're oh yeah, 8th round. Look at this guy I got. He could have went number 7.
Wait, I don't get your question.
You said this wasn't a deep draft.
Yeah.
How many drafts are deep?
There's deep drafts.
There are?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you have some.
All right.
The
Okay.
2003 NBA draft.
Oh, you mean like in baseball?
In baseball.
Oh,
I
in
think there's
baseball, I have
some,
no
there's some
idea.
deeper drafts. Like I think if you look, I'm trying to think. Like you have. I'd have to go
No,
back.
yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
have some
I'm
years. That,
I'm
like,
just giving. I
yeah.
just forgot how many.
Deep dive next week.
Yeah, we can do a
The
draft.
deepest draft of all time.
Just like the
Yeah.
deep. Yeah.
The deepest. This will be like the 70s A's, but draft style. It's gonna be like it's gonna be like the 1964 draft, and it's gonna have all the A's players on
Wait,
it.
are we doing the podcast next week? We'll have to talk about that. Aren't you away?
Ben, we're live right now.
Okay.
Keep going about this. How is that me just
All right. So anyway, the Cam Smith, 14th overall to
yeah.
the Cubs, third baseman. He has probably the most power in the draft. He's a guy that I would compare to like an Arenado without the glove. So like from an offensive standpoint, Arenado's still a really good offensive player. So I would compare him to like an Arenado type player, not with the same. I mean, he's a good okay fielder, but not Arenado type. So he's someone to look out for. Quickly, Mets took Carson Bang, outfielder. He was okay. I was okay with the pick. It wasn't anything super sexy. From Oklahoma State, it's a college guy.
Bless you.
And then the Phillies took Dante Nori, who is a little bit of a little more risky pick, but I think the Phillies, you got the chance for lower floor but a much higher ceiling on a guy like that who's a young, he's not even 20 yet, so one of those guys, and they think some of the guys think he's like somewhat comparable, like an Alec Thomas type player, so.
I like that.
You never know. You never know
Yeah.
with that type of guy. But
I like that comparison, actually.
yeah, so we can do a deeper dive in a different week as well, since we've talked a lot on this podcast. But always fun for the MLB draft. A lot of names. Always fun to see if there's any guys like from our hometown. I know there was one guy a couple years ago.
Nolan Jones.
Yeah, Nolan Jones. I mean, Lou Trevino.
Bishop Wood.
Yeah.
Jarrett.
Lou Trevino is a guy I played against.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hearn. Yeah. But yeah, so like some guys Anyway, so
real quick, we're talking about futures guys. What about the dude that you bring up like every 3 months? Like the 12-year-old that played
Ethan Salas.
Yeah, Ethan
the
Salas.
catcher. Did he get drafted?
Well, he's been in the majors.
He's been in the majors then?
No, he's signed with the Padres as like an international free agent or something.
He didn't go to the draft.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to get drafted? Oh, because he was when
we talked about him, he was already on
the
the Padres.
Okay.
He's the number 6 overall pick. Or
is he still
overall.
17 or is he 18 now?
I think he's 18.
Oh, I thought he was like 15.
He's 18 now. He just turned 18 40 days ago.
Oh, well, now it's not impressive.
He's in high A, but he hasn't really hit at all. I don't know if you've been following him at all, Chase.
Nah.
He hasn't hit at all.
Like he's not hitting?
No, like he's had 300 bats and he's hitting 197. Like
Okay.
Oops.
like really bad for a top. I mean, he's a 6 overall prospect in the majors.
Yeah, but he's a catcher. It's fine.
Yeah, but isn't he in like the Pacific Coast League and isn't that like the hitter friendly league?
Yeah,
too?
but he's high A. He's the average age difference. He's 4 years younger than the average age. And
yeah.
That's a
true.
big difference. So I would he could spend a whole nother year in high A and be totally fine.
Yeah.
I
guess you'd only be concerned if it's like 2 years from now and he's still batting 197 at high A.
Yeah. I mean, he could take two and a half more years to try to get through one level basically and be a double A and still be 20 in double A.
And that's still a really good prospect. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, MLB draft. That's it for that one. And then we'll go to the next topic here.
Yeah, hold on. We got last baseball point.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you guys probably both have seen this already. You probably both just instantly were like, WTF, this is dumb, moved on to the next thing. But Lindsay brought this weird story to my attention the other day, and I just want to know if you guys ever heard of this. And I don't necessarily believe it, but I want to know if there's any truth to it at all. So, and you guys can hop in if you've heard of it. But basically, in the 1800s, I think it was like 1893, there was a minor league baseball game. It's actually what now is known as the Atlantic League, but it was like the Pennsylvania League between Allentown and Pottstown, maybe back in 1893. Okay.
Hmm.
This game is in the 11th inning, and the guy up to bat hits a foul ball and he breaks his bat. It's the last bat available, so they have no more bats. And the game's still tied 2-2. Okay. Apparently, he goes over to this wood pile, decides that he's going to bat with an axe. Okay. Follow me? Comes back to the plate, hits the ball in half. Half of the ball gets caught by the first baseman. Half of the ball goes over the fence. So
is there a video of this?
It's right three. Okay. So the ump calls him out, but he rounds the bases, comes home, argues that he should at least get half of a run. So after a lot of discussion and arguing, the umps decide to give them half a run, and they win the game 2.5-2 in 11.
What?
Have you ever heard of this story?
No, I've never heard of that.
I don't know how.
I just want to see. I don't even want to see the home run derby anymore. I just want to see people swing with an axe and see how far they can hit the ball.
The only thing that they have to go off of is this newspaper article, and they basically it's like unable to be confirmed.
We'll do a quick check.
If you type that in, 1893 broken bat game or something.
That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, I forget the names too.
Bill Rotz is one of these names, but I don't know if this is the. It says no. You said 1893 Pottstown broken bat.
Yeah, and it might be
this one. The Society for.
No, go back. Go back. Go back. Type in 2.5-2. That's 1893 2.5
to 2.5 to
yeah,
2?
to 2 baseball game.
Okay.
1893. This is the key. This is the moneymaker.
Oh,
have you ever seen this story?
No. No wait. An axe. Oh, it's this guy found it in a. Is this a
someone
newspaper?
found this newspaper article because it's a minor league game. I mean, you guys know how hard it is to find major league stats, like players. I mean, I feel like it can't. There's no way they would allow someone to.
I really want to find the actual article and frame it and put it down here now.
That's cool.
What if it's not a real article though?
Do you think this guy just like fabricated it because it was COVID and he had nothing else to do?
Well, I did see that, but also couldn't have someone like made up a fake newspaper article?
I mean, they could have fabricated it in the actual time too.
The story didn't come out either until like the 1930s, but apparently it blew up on the radio stations across the U.S. But there's basically, I only spent 5 to 10 minutes trying to dive through a couple articles, and there's like no way to know.
Dang.
You guys never heard this?
No, I know.
No. But even still, it's like, I mean,
it doesn't seem probable that that's exactly what. Like, there's for the ball to go over the
first the wing.
Yeah, you would have to crank the ball. Like, I feel like if half. Wait, like.
Yeah, I mean, it could have like broken in half, but for it to do that, I mean, even for it to have broken in half would have been insane. Let alone
this would be a great add to the man cave. Actually,
I want to find it. It would, yeah. I want to find it now. I'm gonna have to do some digging after, but all right.
I mean, I don't know. It doesn't like.
I'm glad you guys never.
Something crazy could happen too.
Yeah.
I mean, they basically said how no game's ever given a half a run in baseball history, but also this was like a weird minor league 1800s.
Yeah, not affiliated with MLB.
Yeah.
Like also
that's the type of thing. If you go to an antique store in like this area, who knows, you can find it.
Yeah.
Because like I feel like too, like maybe maybe someone back then, wrote these fake stories maybe this was like, I don't know, like a
The
take
Onion.
on- Yeah, it's like
the
a take-
Onion of the 1890s.
Yeah.
Wait, what does that mean? What
Like
is that?
the Onion
Onion-
is just a website with fake news stories.
It's also it's
Okay.
also
But a
satirical.
bunch of dumb people always like think it's real, even though they don't realize the Onion's like a fake news source. Yeah.
I mean, like, so someone could have created this newspaper article from like the 30s and was like, I found this. And
Yeah, I'll have to do some more a deep dive on that. But
I slow started this story so hard because I thought you guys both were like, oh, yeah, I heard of that. That's
no,
fake.
that's hype.
No, I've never heard of that. That's
No, I've never
crazy.
heard of it either.
I just thought it was cool too because it's from like PA. It's like from our area. Although that Potts town, I couldn't when I looked at the team. Yeah, I couldn't find that team, but Allentown did have a team that year. So
dang. Well, yeah. If anyone has a source or collectible on an actual authentic article, please bring it to AFR. So
Yeah, that is crazy.
dang. But on that note, I think we'll end the baseball segment. And just before we dive into the quick baseball reference, we may or may not do on air, but we got to try to get that hat.
Yeah.
We will go to the Poconos, and Chase will kind of, let me actually unshare screen here for a second. And then Chase can do a quick Pocono race recap. I'm not going to bring it up, Chase.
That might be better for might be better for
screwing
everyone.
it up. But I will say I was in the Poconos Saturday, did my race. Did not have any traffic issues. So I was excited about that. I thought there could be an issue because Saturday there was still stuff too.
Yeah. The Xfinity race.
Yeah, but did not run into any issues. So at least they were far enough apart in the Poconos.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad it wasn't too bad because it was a full sellout crowd on Sunday. So it was definitely packed there, probably leaving the cup race and doing everything involved with that. But yeah, this weekend was a really excited one. It's always cool when it's the hometown track, and Pocono is a unique one because it only has 3 turns, so it doesn't have 4. And it just creates unique angles, and it's a bigger one on their schedule. So there's a lot of it's probably one of the most unique ones outside of just actually being a straight up road course. So always excitement. I feel like it really delivers, and this race for sure did. A lot of weird accidents happened. It just seemed like they couldn't get it going, and I think this has to do with the stages. And I think this is the biggest problem with stage racing is that it sets up unnecessary strategies and it forces a lot of people out to not get the win. Like some people just want the stage points, or some people are just thinking for the end of the race, and it's okay. But then I feel like all the stoppages, and then it just creates havoc throughout the race. And it's okay, but it really does break up the race overall. And it just seems like some people don't care about the stage points at all. And they just want to win. And that's fine, especially this time of year. We only have a handful of races left in the playoffs, leading into the playoffs. So, and the races are getting tighter this weekend. Ryan Blaney won. And actually, Hannah called this. She called this because she said we weren't going to go, and Ryan Blaney's going to win because he looks like a comedian that she's a fan of. And
is that her racer?
Hannah's got to put a bet down on that.
Yeah, I would say so. We definitely should have for Sunday. She was like, Ryan Blaney's going to win this race because we're not there to see it. And he went out, absolutely dominated this race. Yeah. First stage went to Martin Truex, which is cool. He's retiring. This is technically his hometown track. So it was nice to see that. And then he basically vanished for the rest of the race. And then Ryan Blaney took the reins from there and held off Denny Hamlin. And Denny Hamlin, I think, is 7 wins here at Pocono. He's definitely been one of the most dominant people. But Ryan Blaney also has good history here. This was his first professional win in, I think, the Xfinity Series. Or no, it was in the NASCAR Series. But his first win came at Pocono. So 2 times this year he's showed out when he's had history at the track in Iowa and then here at Pocono. But in doing so, he also took away another position for these guys on the outside looking in. So with the more multiple winners that we've been getting, it takes out people from getting a chance to lock themselves in. And it was sketchy. And I got to point out, Bubba Wallace finished the race and had a golden opportunity to do some real damage entering this weekend because Ross Chastain crashed early in this race. So
Oh,
Bubba Wallace had a golden opportunity to really put some work in on Sunday, really get some points down, and put himself in a better position. Couldn't do that. Spent most of the afternoon bitching about his car and not doing much other than that. So there you have it, Bubba Wallace update. Didn't cause a crash, didn't get caught up in a crash, didn't push someone into the wall, and spent most of the afternoon bitching. So nothing on that front. And
Chase, are these points on the right side here total for the year?
right
here, do you know?
No, that's just points that they got from the Rays.
Okay.
And side note, since we're live, Ohtani just demolished a 3-run homer in the All-Star game.
Off Skeens?
Off Hawk. Hawk is just, he gave up 2 straight hard hits, and then Ohtani hit just.
Oh, shit, yeah. I'm thinking NL. My bad.
Yeah, it's already the 3rd inning. It just was going quick.
Oh, wow, that's cruising. But yeah. Also, another guy I want to point out is Bubba Wallace's teammate, Tyler Reddick. Not bitching about anything and really dominating these last few weeks. I mean, he's had consecutive top 10 finish weeks in a row now. So he's been racking up points. And really, it just seems like he's always in the top 3. And for most of the race, his car's just always been in that position. I feel like it's crazy that his car's always good and Bubba Wallace can't seem to get a good car and their teammates. And they have the literal same setup. So I'm not sure what's happening with all that. But, Bubba Wallace still trying to get in. And it's not really working for him. But another week, another position taken away. So,
yeah, Chase, by the way, we need to figure out how many races are left because this might happen. We might have the ability if single racers keep winning who haven't won.
Yeah,
yet.
I think there's 4 left now.
Okay. So it can't happen.
Yeah,
because there's only four guys left. So
yeah, and so it's just definitely getting tight here, and all those guys really need a win, especially the guys from 17 on who are peaking there. And it seemed like for a while the guys who were battling 17th, battling Bubba Wallace were getting the win and catapulting him and just locking themselves in the playoffs. So I don't know who he's battling right now. If you could scroll down. Chase Briscoe. Briscoe's been getting really hot over these last few weeks, having good finishes. Kyle Busch, I got to bring this up too. Feel really bad for him. If he's not getting caught up in a random BS accident, something else horrible is just happening for no reason. And I know most people are kind of iffy on him, but he's had a streak of making the playoffs and just having a win in a year. And to see them just struggle mightily this year kind of sucks because they've really been in a spot to get there. I mean, he could be way down on this list, and he's not.
Yeah.
He's
like the only name, Chase, I'm looking at that I feel like usually would be in the playoffs. That's not.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely on the back end of his career, but he's a 2-time champ. He's been around. If I had to put money on anyone in any Sunday, I would put it on Kyle Busch. I mean, he's done it. He's been there. He was easily one of the most dominant drivers for a stretch of time. I mean, every single weekend you could pretty much count him in, and he would do it all weekend. He would race in the trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series, and probably get 2 or 3, if not sweep the weekend. So he was really just on his game, and it kind of sucks to see them, be at this position where he's not as dominant, but hanging in there. He could easily get a win here. I mean, it's definitely not out of question. He's been close. If he wasn't getting wrecked or getting pushed out, but. And all the Stewart-Haas guys seem like they've moved on. They found rides for next year, so it's not a big deal at this point. I think it was the last person over the weekend got in and found a ride. So, that's cool. It looks like Harrison Burton of the 21 out for next season at the moment, and then all the Stewart-Haas guys will have a ride. So, good for them, even though they're not in the playoffs now. I mean, they can still come in and get a win here. I mean, it's definitely not out of the question, but yeah, so we'll see. And our guy Christopher Bell, not too hot of a weekend at Pocono. He qualified all right, but
he's just smooth sailing just because he's up there.
He's locked in.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the 3 wins. He can definitely take more risks now in the season, and I don't mind that at all. It just sucks that last week he could have got the win easily if he just would have stayed out, and this week they just didn't seem like they had the juice to really stay up in there. So we'll see. We're going to be moving on to Indianapolis, and then I think there's actually a break because of the Olympics, which is dumb, but whatever. We'll get over it. So
That makes sense
Yeah.
just because of the popularity of the Olympics, at least.
Is there any type of racing? Could Formula One make it in the Olympics at some point, you think? Is there any type of racing in the Olympics? Do we
I mean,
know?
I think Formula One could be just because it is global, and they definitely have probably enough drivers for at least like one country each.
I don't know if it's I don't know how that would work.
I just feel like it's modern day sports, right? Like we don't like.
Yeah.
It's still trucking in there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, there's always the.
We should do a segment on the Olympics.
We should. I feel like I'm more of a Winter Olympic guy, but
yeah, I'm definitely lukewarm on the Olympics.
Like the luge or whatever, the thing where they go in, the two people go in.
I guess I'm more of a Winter Olympic guy too. Oh no!
What's that called?
The summer has speed walking. I'm not even kidding. That. Oh.
Okay.
We can make some picks.
We can make some picks. Can you bet on speed walking?
Somewhere. Probably not here.
Okay.
So wait, Chase, where's the race next week? You jumped off.
It's at Indianapolis, so
that's right.
The Brickyard 400, one of the most iconic races, and unique track to unique track, making our way through the NASCAR season before we start heading back to the repeats here. So,
okay,
yeah, that's awesome.
I like it. Well, thanks for the update, Chase, and we'll I guess we'll say bye to Spotify quick. You guys have been here for a minute, so we appreciate you guys listening if you've continued to listen.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, however you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, shout out to everyone. Ben, Ryan, Chase, episode 73 in the books. It's just every week now we say the episode. It's just crazy. I had a lot of fun tonight. I hope you guys did. We made a boring sports week a great time, and it's obvious that some point we're gonna have Chase take over the music from Ben. That'll happen.
I did that on purpose.
We're 73 episodes in, but no, shout out to all our listeners out there. Starting to get some merch in the works too, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, Ben, Ryan, Chase, episode 73 are out. Peace.
Peace.
All right. You want to stay live for everyone else, or should we just?
We could probably cap it.
Cap it. All right. See you YouTube, Instagram next time.
Later.
Do you have any comments?